Screen Preach, Episode 2. In the name of the Godfather, the Son of Odin, and the Holy Jedi. I said that last week and I kind of like it, so I'm going to keep saying it. But yeah, if you haven't even been here yet, if you haven't listened yet, then welcome, I guess. Not welcome back. And it's probably better that you're here now and not last week. Because, I had to edit the thing all week and it was okay, So, what's going on here? I woke up this morning to the sound of yelling in the streets, or I guess cheering is the correct term. Yeah, because they're doing a marathon out there. Had no idea about it. And what's funny too is my car was parked on that street, and it ain't there now. So, I mean, who the fuck knows where it is? But I'll find it, I'm sure. If not, well, at least I don't have to pay for the tolls anymore. Got my coffee this week. Decided to do the coffee thing. Yeah. And I can't tell you how annoying it was listening to some lady out there cheering every time someone would run by, She kept doing, woo! Yeah! Same high pitch, woo! Yeah! Just like 500 times, just woo! Yeah! I can't fucking, concentrate. I did not want that in the background while I was doing this the whole time. So I'm glad it's over. Oh, I heard one more. They're still going out there a little bit. On the bright side, though, there's no cars and stuff, sirens, I guess, going by this time. They should do these marathons every Sunday, so then I don't have to deal with the cars and shit. No. Just gotta remember to not park my car on the main road. Apparently, I literally have no idea where my car is right now. Anyway, it was a good week. And I just want to apologize for a couple of things. Last week I noticed that I swear if I make this noise, one more time, I'm gonna bury my head in the sand somewhere and the rest of my body with it. Let's just get them all out right now, real quick. Maybe I won't click my tongue. And I also want to apologize for one thing. I mentioned the set photos from Carnage with Woody Harrelson. It's not Carnage. It's Venom 2 that Carnage happens to be in. So there's that. I just wanted to point out. Also, I didn't get a chance to do my rundown last week. And I really wanted to do that. So I think I might do that right now, real quick. I just wanted, because 2019 really was awesome. It was a great year in movies, and every time something would come out, I was shocked. There were a lot of things under the radar, just constantly seeing things that I didn't expect to see at all. But I figured, let's do that. I did. I rated all of them, and if there's something I'm leaving out, it's not on the list, it's not because I don't think it was good or it deserves to be in this list of 2019 movies. It's just because I didn't see it yet, unfortunately. So I'm not going to rate something that I haven't seen. That would be worse. Alright, so if you're watching this and you see like a cut, it's because my computer's a piece of shit and it stops recording whenever it wants. I'm having a hard time with it, but hopefully it doesn't do. I mean, I could go on and I could record an hour and a half last week with no problems, but apparently this week, I can go fuck myself is what my computer's telling me. Okay, so yeah, the list of movies for 2019. Let's go through that. I rated them. I'm literally like constantly watching the the audio over here, making sure it doesn't fucking stop on me again. All right, 2019 gave us Us by Jordan Peele. That I gave an 8.8. It was great. The Art of Racing in the Rain, I gave a 7.5. It's okay. My dad would disagree with me, but yeah, I thought it was okay. The Mustang, 7.8 was good. That one was under the radar. I bet some of you don't even know what I'm talking about. But the Mustang was one of those, like, came out of nowhere kind of movies that really hit me. John Wick 3. I mean, John Wick, you know. It's there's one sequence in that movie alone that makes it just so fantastic. Like the whole dog thing with Halle Berry, and I don't. We'll get into it. Avengers Endgame, 9.7. Amazing, but you know I'm a nerd, so I mean I'm a little biased. Toy Story 4, 9.3. Great. Joker, 8.8. I thought it was great. Spider-Man Far From Home, 8.7. Also great. Yesterday. Now, if you didn't see Yesterday, you should definitely see Yesterday. It was like one of those movies that was definitely under the radar, but then when it came out, everybody was talking about it. I gave that an 8.6. I thought it was great. It Chapter 2 came out. Now, if you saw the first one, you know how great that one was, but this one was a little, you know, subpar, I guess you would say. Long movie, maybe unnecessarily long, but I mean, I read the book too. The book is like 1,200 pages, so I mean, you know, if it's long, it's just giving you more from the book. I guess it's not always true though. I mean, there's not a whole lot that is directly pulled from the book. There's a lot of differences. I will say there's a great scene in the second one. That whole scene with when Beverly Marsh goes back to her house, and the old lady happens to be there, who is not the old lady, but you know, fucking clown. And that whole scene is actually pulled right from the book. I thought that was the most adapted part. I mean, took that right from the book, so that was cool. But it was still not as good as the first one. I gave it a 7.7. It was still good. It just wasn't, you know, the first one. Motherless Brooklyn, 7.5 was okay. Peanut Butter Falcon, 9.1. That was a great movie. I recommend it. Honey Boy, I gave 9.0. Also great. Yeah, Shia LaBeouf had a year. Ford vs. Ferrari, 9.0 as well. Great. Rise of Skywalker, I already mentioned last week, but yeah, I gave it an 8.0. I thought it was good. But but I'm one of those people who thought The Last Jedi was really, really kind of really good. Took a lot of risks and was like different, and I actually thought that was a really, really good Star Wars movie. I'm not gonna. The divisive stuff is tough, you know. I don't want to like go too deep, but I will anyway. If something's coming out soon, you know, and if it's like all the fucking talk and everybody's like, oh, I'm still gonna, you know, tell you the other side of it. I can tell you my perspective, and I hope that you disagree with me. I hope that you disagree with me. Uncut Gems. Yeah, this was also some. I did one of those. I'm actually gonna catch myself when I do that. You know. Uncut Gems was another one that people really talked about a lot. It had a lot of buzz, but I gave it an 8.4. It was good. It wasn't great. People thought it was like amazing. People hated it. I had friends who thought it sucked. It was good. It wasn't like anything too special. the big thing about that movie is that it's nonstop. Just it doesn't take a break. Like it's it's just adrenaline, chaos, and that's the point, you know. But I don't know. Adam Sandler, his performance. Some people thought that he deserved an Oscar nomination. He's just kind of doing a Sandler thing, you know. It was a good performance, but it wasn't like anything. I don't agree. I don't think he needed. I don't think he deserved an Oscar nomination for that. Like he was good, but it was still Sandler-esque, you know. And then of course I wanted to talk in detail about Parasite last week, but I didn't. But Parasite was a masterpiece. You know, there's no. I gave it a 9.6. Amazing. It was, you know, there's no way around that. It is. It is what it is. All right. Anyway, so I still haven't found my car. The marathon's over out there. There's cars going by again. And you probably hear them because I have to deal with that. People actually told me that they do hear the stuff that goes on outside, and I'm sorry about that. That's what I'm dealing with here, as well as dealing with computers that don't want to friggin' work at all. It's working right now. It's moving. And we'll see if it holds up. Okay, let's do it. We got probably talk about news. How about this? Star Wars Rise of Skywalker novelization reveals the final words between Rey and Kylo Ren and touches on the meaning of their kiss. Okay, real quick. We don't need all the extra mumbo jumbo for this moment. It is what it is. You know, people are all worked up over these two kissing each other, but at the same time, you got people at home fucking fingering themselves to Jaime and Cersei Lannister fucking each other's brains out. So, yeah, we live in a time. This is really not that big of a fucking deal. But the fact that we need to... I don't even recall their final words. Like, maybe it's just me. I saw the movie twice, and I don't recall there being a moment where they say... What does she whisper something? I don't know what this is. I don't understand this. Because the scene is... Maybe it's... Okay, I get it. So they extended the scene a little bit, and then there were words. Maybe that's what's going on. Yeah, I guess she said, like... This whole thing about it being a kiss of gratitude. Everybody's all worked up over it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Maybe... because maybe it wasn't a kiss of gratitude. Maybe they actually did, like, start to, like, fall for each other, and that's fine too. It's a normal thing. It's not like a big deal. And look, now we got Donut here too. I'm sure that the cut in the video is gonna be like, I'm here with my coffee and she's not, and then all of a sudden she's here. Computer, that's the computer. It's not me. Okay. What is it? What? So hold on. So what did they actually say to each other? But then she drew back, concern on her face. She would feel him growing cold. He had given... Okay. But I don't... A voice came to her through the force. Oh, okay. Okay. So it is like an extension of the moment. A voice came to her through the force, clear and strong. I will always be with you, Ben said. She smiled. Let the truth of it wash over her. No one's ever really gone, she whispered. Okay, so the no one's ever really gone thing is like a callback. That's a Star Wars thing, you know. But it doesn't... I will always be with you. No one's ever really gone. That's a Star Wars... It's just a Star Wars thing. Like, not a big deal here. Taika Waititi entering the world of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with 2 animated series at Netflix. Taika Waititi will direct and write an EP 2 animated series based on the works of Roald Dahl. The first is based on the world and characters of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The second is a wholly original take on the Oompa Loompas. I couldn't. This makes a lot of sense. I could see him doing this. Taika. He has that style about him. If you saw Jojo Rabbit or Thor Ragnarok, he just has that style. I could totally see him doing this. This is cool. I like this. How about James Wan has been tapped to do the next monster movie for Universal? I just saw The Invisible Man this week, and I'll talk about it in a later episode. But this is cool. James Wan, director of Aquaman, he's doing a monster movie for Universal, so he'll be doing one of the next ones. As long as they take a similar approach that they did with The Invisible Man, they should be fine. You have to kind of change it up and be a fresh take. You need a fresh take on these monster movies. That's the only way they're going to work. I think that's why The Invisible Man worked. So that's cool. That's another one. Wanted to talk about this real quick. The Eternal Star Kumail Nanjiani reveals the main characters were sent to Earth thousands of years ago. This is a fanboy thing. I'm just going to talk about it real quick. This is Marvel. So after Black Widow comes out in May, the Eternals comes out in November. And the Eternals apparently... I've heard rumors about this before, too. Apparently, the Eternals have been around this whole time in the MCU. In the narrative we've been watching, they've been around. That's what I've heard. And now there's Kumail Nanjiani, one of the actors, he's saying, we were sent to Earth thousands of years ago to protect Earth from these monsters, the Deviants. The Deviants are going to be the antagonists of the Eternals. A lot of it takes place in the present day. By this point, we've been on Earth for a long time, so they've been around. This is confirming what we kind of suspected a little bit from rumors. So they've been around. They didn't assist the Avengers. They know who the Avengers are. That was another thing I heard recently, that they've known about the Avengers this whole time. It's interesting, and I'm sure the story will reveal why they haven't been involved in the main event so far, and why now they're getting involved. Should be good. Should be good. What else? We're just gonna move into. We're into the news of the week. We're just going, people. We're into it. What other movie news do we got? Uh oh. Come on, audio. Stay with me. When it starts like lagging, like that's when I think it's gonna stop. All right. What else? They confirmed that Christian Bale will be the villain in Thor: Love and Thunder. That's right. Tessa Thompson revealed it. She confirmed that Christian Bale, who was rumored to be cast in the movie, is playing the villain. There's no other details. We don't know who he's playing. But Christian Bale, Batman, that man is in the next Thor movie, which means he's in the MCU altogether. That's one of the coolest things about the MCU, is when an actor joins one of the solo movies, it also means that character and that actor are now in the entire narrative. They're in the MCU. So Christian Bale, we could see him again. He could be in just Thor: Love and Thunder, but he could also not be, and he could show up again, which is fucking cool. So we're gonna have Christian Bale in the next big chapter of the MCU, possibly. Especially if he's a villain who has a big impact. That's the thing. I don't know, is Christian Bale the next Thanos, or is he just another solo movie villain that with a one and done thing, you know? Or even better, maybe he's like the next Loki. Like Loki was a solo film villain, but then he became a bigger villain, and then he became a hero, and now he's technically, I guess, a villain again because he's in a different universe. Anyway, Josh Gad and Luke Evans to return for Beauty and the Beast series on Disney Plus. So it's just a quick mention. Of course, Disney Plus is going to continue to put out content based around the rights to all their different areas. What is this? Oh, this was really cool. Last of Us, the video game. Now, last week I talked about how video games should be made into TV shows, not movies. Well, this is awesome shit right here. Last of Us is being adapted into an HBO TV series, and it's being written by none other than Craig Mazin. If you don't know who Craig Mazin is, well, first of all, shame on you. But Craig Mazin is an awesome screenwriter. Him and John August do a podcast called Script Notes that I listen to. Craig Mazin is the awesome writer who did Chernobyl recently, and he's also been tapped to do the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie coming out. But this is awesome. He's doing a TV series. He's a big video game guy too. If you listen to him, if you listen to the podcast, like, he loves video games. So no one better to do a video game adaptation. And the Last of Us is a cool one to do. It's a cool one to do, but it's also like, it's another one of those apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic, it's got to be done. It's got to be done right, and it has to feel fresh. We can't have more. We can't have more Walking Dead. I mean, we have more Walking Dead. That show doesn't stop. Keeps coming out, even when everyone in the world is like, stop. It doesn't. New Bond movie. This is great. So apparently MGM thinks the coronavirus is gonna last for a fucking long time, because they're pushing the new Bond movie back till November. I mean, how about June or July? What do they think they think this virus is gonna be out all year? They're worried about box office and people not going to the theater. And, I get it. Push it back, but November? Maybe they just couldn't find another slot. I don't know how that stuff works, but whatever. I'm just really looking forward to seeing the new Bond movie, No Time to Die, in a few weeks, when it was supposed to come out. April 10th. Now I gotta wait till November because of the coronavirus scare, which is, it's a damn shame. Stranger Things Season 4. Brett Gelman, who plays Murray, who's awesome to have every season, he's been upgraded to series regular, which means he'll be in every season, maybe, unless he dies. The character, not Brett himself. But also, if Brett himself were to die, then also, yes, the character, because then Brett couldn't be around to play him, so yeah, okay. That's cool. We also got Antonio Banderas cast in the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland. Cool. Also, Disney Plus's MCU series WandaVision has wrapped production. Just a quick mention, because obviously we're getting near time for these Marvel shows, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Falcon and Winter Soldier is first, comes out in August, and WandaVision is, I think, in November. But the fact that it wrapped production is cool, because that means they're on to post-production. So we're just getting closer to it, obviously. And that is probably going to do it for the news of the week. Wasn't like a crazy amount of stuff this week. I also had a shit ton of stuff building up last week. That's why I had so much. I don't know. I think I'm doing better. I'm breezing through it better. Right? Alright, so today we're going to talk about The Gentleman. Guy Ritchie's latest film, The Gentleman. Now, spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen The Gentleman, you should stop listening. I kind of want people to listen to the whole thing. But if you haven't seen it, yeah, you got some news of the week. So that's good. But now you can go and, get a coffee and jog and whatever else you do on a regular Sunday. You know what's funny, though? It's Sunday for me, but when you hear this, won't be Sunday. You know, Apple's got a hell of a process for the podcast uploading. You submit it, and then you got to just wait. And then it comes out randomly in the week. So this could be out on fucking Wednesday. So I hope you're all at work or something. Guy Ritchie, if you don't know him, get to know him. His style is undeniable. If you've seen anything he's done, he did Snatch. He did the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr. So you kind of understand where I'm coming from with his style. And The Gentleman is definitely in the same universe as Snatch, but it's also different. I thought there were a lot more like meaningful, subtle messages in this one. Maybe not more than Snatch, but just... Well, you know what? I haven't watched Snatch in a while, so I'm just forgetting what Snatch was really trying to say about the world. The Gentleman is trying to say something specific, and it's fresh in my mind because I saw it recently. So we're going to talk about that. Alright, so in terms of, I guess, story and script and structure, I thought it was really cool how this structure of this movie is based around the idea that it's aware that it's a movie. It's the structure is a screenplay. The structure of the movie is designed like a screenplay, which is really cool. You have Fletcher, who kind of acts as the surrogate for the writer himself, which is cool. He's in the movie as a character, of course, but he's like a surrogate for the writer putting himself in the movie, if that makes sense. He's the one telling the story, and he's doing it through script form, and we sometimes are not sure what's real and what's just Fletcher telling us, you know? That was what was cool about it. Like, sometimes you're like, okay, so is this what really happened? Or is this just what Fletcher is telling us happened? And he dramatized it into his little movie. I mean, he literally presents a legit screenplay in the movie. So, that was cool. I wanted to talk about the wife archetype here, played by Michelle Dockery. She plays Rosalind Pearson. That's Matthew McConaughey's Mickey Pearson's wife, and she's kind of like the glue that holds the whole thing together, because I really should have started with this quote. I think I'll do that next week. Start with a quote from the movie that sums up the movie, I guess. But there's a quote in the movie. It's the best way to a man's heart is through his wife. Of course, it's Fletcher that says it, because he's got fucking diarrhea of the mouth. But that could not be more true, like, in this movie. That's what the whole thing is kind of, it all comes back to that. She, her presence is super important. Mickey wants out. Matthew McConaughey's character, Mickey, wants out. His wife doesn't believe him. Okay? He gets out until his heart, his wife, is fucked with, making him realize who he really is again, making him realize that he is the king, that he must remain the king. But yeah, I want to talk about the coach, played by Colin Farrell. They just call him Coach, which is cool. He's kind of like a father figure to the youth of the city and where he's from. He adds the idea that the ending is uncertain. I mentioned how Fletcher telling the story kind of makes you wonder what's real and what's not sometimes. And Coach, his whole thing with the children that he finds and mentors. It kind of adds to this a little bit. He he's he even makes a point of saying that he's not a gangster. I've had to do gangster shit, he says, but he says I'm not a gangster. So at the end of the film, Mickey is being driven away in his car, thinking that he's being driven away by his driver. And it turns out to be Russians who want to kill him. And then he's all of a sudden saved by the coach's boys who pull up in a van and just start blowing the fucking thing away. Just start shooting blades of fucking just going. And I'm thinking, it made me think, because if Fletcher is the writer, is he pulling a Deus Ex Machina on us? Is he pulling like a God from the machine thing, like where he just can do whatever he wants and change the way it ends? Because he's the one who's like, oh, well, by the way, it wasn't Matthew who was behind everything. It was the Russians. And then, so there's that too makes me wonder, okay, is this really what happened, or is it not? And, so the coach's boys, they call and they said, we're going to take care of this for you. And then they go and they shoot the Russians. They save Mickey. But would they do that? They claim to be not gangsters, Would they do that? Not to mention, Coach didn't even know about the whole Russian thing. Which means, how could the boys know about it? Uh-huh. So there's that. And then there's a Fletcher at the end of the movie when he's literally pitching the screenplay to some executive, and it cuts right when he the picture shows us, Mickey gets away, and then it cuts to Fletcher pitching that ending. And that too makes me wonder, well, did it really go down this way? And it's supposed to, because even in the meeting he's in, he's like, the executive's like, I need an ending. And he's like, no, what you need is a sequel. And it's like, it's supposed to be ambiguous. It's supposed to be like, okay, so we're supposed to wonder if Mickey really got away clean. But that, it's funny, because that would also mean that the hero of the story could cheat death taking the form of the writer himself. The writer's the one who brings down the pain and death on all these characters. But they are the god of the story. They control what happens. Fletcher also embodying that, trying to convey what happens in his perspective. And just like when a writer is writing, the characters don't care what the writer wants at a certain point. It's their world, it's their story. Things will start to play out how they're supposed to play out. There does come a point when you're writing when the characters' voices start to speak to you and start to tell you how things are going to go down. The writer, of course, still has control of how things go, but if he's a smart writer, he's going to let the characters tell him where things are going to go, because it's their world, it's their story. They're going to know better than him how things are going to play out. All of these things made me wonder what's real, what's not real. And then you got some direction choices. The fact that the story progresses non-sequentially sometimes. There's a lot of rapid editing. But mostly because it's non-sequential made me wonder too. What exactly happened? What we saw happen, was it what happened? Or was it what Fletcher's telling us happened? There's also the whole thing with Raymond, played by Charlie Hunnam. He figured out what Fletcher was doing at a certain point. And so I kind of saw that as a moment where the real, what actually happened meeting what Fletcher's saying happened. they kind of, the two worlds or two stories kind of meet, and then it's like it's supposed to reinforce us. It's supposed to make us think even more. It's supposed to make us wonder even more what happened. Matthew McConaughey, he's always suave and smooth as a leading man. He's not the scene stealer. Fletcher's the scene stealer, I guess. The character I most enjoyed was Colin Farrell's the coach, whose presence and composure shadow over the entire ensemble, in my opinion. He's got this way about him. Every scene he's in is just too damn enjoyable, you know. He's also he's a mentor to the boys, but he always seems to be teaching. He's always like giving everyone lessons. Like all his dialogue seems to be in a manner of teaching some lesson, even to the actual men, not just the boys. An interesting note that connects to the idea that Coach and his boys are not gangsters, and therefore not really involved in that ending too, is there's a musical piece in the movie. At one point, Coach's boys they do like a docu-style music video where they rap and film their exploits, jacking Mickey's weed den, one of his weed warehouses. That whole thing made me wonder too, because we spend a chunk of time looking at it. Musical, it's kind of like a musical piece, like musicals, like the movies, and musicals, in my opinion, always kind of halt the narrative a little bit. Oh, that's great. Maybe I should finish the coffee, so that kind of stuff doesn't happen. Yeah, okay, cool. This blanket is kind of a bitch to clean in the wash downstairs. So I was going to do it like every other week. But I can't look at that. So, yeah. Yeah, anyway. Musical numbers have always kind of been a halt in the narrative, but in this case it's supposed to just make you wonder why this, what's going on. And in my opinion, it's again to further enforce the idea that these are not gangsters, these guys. This particular group, Coach and the boys, are not involved in Mickey's world. Because think about gangster rap too in general. Gangster rap is like being gangster, but it's not gangster. It's pure expression. It's not everyone who's ever done gangster rap is also a gangster. So there's that. And another quick mention: there's a foreshadow of the twist where Raymond reveals to Fletcher that he knew what was going on the whole time, and the foreshadow of this is that when Mickey shows Matthew the video of Matthew and Dry Eyes talking, the clip that he shows Matthew is the very bit of clip that Fletcher didn't have, which means that they already had it, which means that they knew what was going on, which makes Raymond's reveal to Fletcher that he was also following Fletcher and knew what Fletcher was doing the whole time. It was a foreshadow to that twist. Well, what else? It's just a fun movie all around. I guess I'll talk about my take on the whole thing. I mentioned how there's a lot about this film it's more subtly meaningful messages and whatnot. First of all, even with the English setting, we're in England. There's a lot of relevance for America and just the modern times in general. Um, the film touches on the idea of social classes, and they represent it through criminals. They do it through crime. This is like the first layer that I took away from the whole thing, is this idea of social classes. Mickey has control over the high class, and I mean literally the regular high class. He has connections to dukes and lords and whatever, right? And and this and he also represents the high class of criminal. He's at the top of the food chain. He's the king. And here's where it gets interesting. These high class families, the real high class, seem to have a common trend of losing their children to drugs. It's mentioned in the movie how this is something that goes on, specifically heroin, right? So Guy Ritchie pulls on this thread, which is good bad guy versus bad guy, right? Because they're all criminals. Our protagonist is a good bad guy, played by McConaughey. Mickey is a good bad guy. His game is weed, right? Weed is good, heroin is bad. Yeah. It's all a game, and Mickey plays a role in it. Allows the other players to do their thing. The big players who are involved in heroin, he lets them do their thing. He doesn't get involved. But something changes for Mickey. This whole wanting out thing makes him see more clearly. There are kids dying, okay? The streets are not safe. And Mickey comes to realize that the drug game, needs him. The crime game needs him, right? This is what he realizes. The opening and closing line of the film parallel that which he came to realize. He says in opening, a king must be the king, not just pretend to be. Otherwise, it brings chaos and one's own demise. He says this. It's also at the end of the movie, in VO, in voiceover. He is nearly killed, and he almost leaves the game, open to be torn apart by the bad guys. If he would have left the game, this is what would take over. It's just more of this dirt. The chaos also being what Matthew represents as well. Now, Mickey is going to sell to Matthew, right? The two are similar. They're both American, but they're kind of two sides of a coin, right? Mickey sees what Matthew represents, and it would bring only chaos. The fact that Matthew's willing to work with people like Dry Eyes and George and give them the kind of leeway he does, it shows Mickey what kind of man he is. So Matthew is definitely one of these bad guys, not good bad guys. They end up being opposites. It all comes down to the kids, though. This idea of kids. Time and time again, Guy Ritchie makes it about kids. When he also realized it was something of. I also realized it was something of a. I don't want to say. Oh, this coffee on the blanket thing really bums me out. I realized that it's kind of like a coming of age thread that he's pulling on. I don't know if it. Well, here's what I mean. So Mickey is already in his prime, right? He's a man. He's not a boy, but he has to grow. He has to realize something in this film, and not to mention, we see his introduction. When we see Mickey's introduction, it's as a boy. it's as a young kid when we first, like when he's introduced, like with the, not in the very beginning, but when Fletcher does his little intro of Mickey, it shows his upbringing. So this idea of upbringing is what's constantly pulled on. Um, he The theme is represented in multiple ways, time and time again. Okay, the title itself, for starters, the gentleman, right? It comes down to a war between the good bad guys, who are the gentlemen of this story, fighting against bad guys who corrupt society. The gentlemen have a role to play in protecting society and the boys who live in it, the boys who will come up in it. Constantly, the main characters seem to be giving lessons to the younger men. I mentioned this before. Raymond, even played by Charlie Hunnam, he always seems to be talking about what the kids should and should not be doing. When he's kind of way more in your face about it, and he'll shove a gun in your face, but and pull out a fucking MP5 in your face, but he's trying to make a point, you know. And then there's obviously the coach, who sums up the whole boys to men theme that I'm talking about with his whole character makeup. He's a mentor to all the kids and shit. And he sums it up with that one line in the film where he's in the coffee shop and he's with the boys. There's boys in there being rambunctious and disrespectful, and they have no idea that it's he's famous around town, but they have no idea it's him, and he totally shuts their day up. but he sums up the boys to men theme that I'm talking about with that line. He says he's like boys hit, men stab, adults punch. I don't know the exact line, but he sums it up right there, like the difference between boy, man, adult, like the whole thing, and that's what he's constantly teaching all the boys around him. He has boys under his command, I guess, and constantly learning from him. He's giving life lesson. He's giving life lesson, and life lessons are good because they teach you things. Life lessons, even with there's a little moment with one of his his main kid, where they're talking about racism, and he kind of cracks a joke about it, but it's also kind of like a lesson about it. He's always like teaching like little street smart things, like just whatever. Coach is always he's always teaching them what it means to be a gentleman, right? Again. And him being one himself, of course, also aids the other gentlemen in the movie. He helps Mickey and Raymond in stopping the bad guys from winning. It's all about boys becoming men, and more than that, it's about becoming a type of man. Dry Eyes says to George, "There comes a point where the young succeed the old," and that can't be more true. But when that happens, what kind of man will you be, right? Will they be like Mickey, Raymond, and Coach, or will they be like George, Dry Eyes, and Matthew? If you become a man who does something like go after Mickey's wife, go after his heart, then you're probably going to get shot in the fucking head. The whole idea is emphasized in one scene. The war is legit. Okay, this whole good bad versus bad. It's weed versus heroin. When Mickey goes and visits George, the king of the heroin side of it, and threatens him to learn his place, Mickey shuns the heroin trade right to his face, and he makes it clear that he's above George. He makes it clear that this heroin is a problem, and we see that it is, literally right at the same moment, because the scene is cross-cut with the same girl Raymond rescues overdosing and dying in her lawn. It's cross-cut with this scene. So the whole war is a legit thing, and Mickey is needed to make that dirt go away. And this is, of course, this is his change. This is the whole arc for Mickey. In the end, it's time that it's true that Mickey is needed. He just had to find it in his heart. And he finds it in his heart when they fuck with his heart. That's the whole thing about the best way to a man's heart is through his wife. Well, his wife is fucked with. At the end, Mickey beats the bad guys and realizes that he has to remain king. That's the whole thing. And then, of course, why not reinforce this idea of his heart by ending the film with a line with a callback to a line they say earlier. He asks her, any chance, like as in any chance of fucking, making love, and that's how the movie ends. They're in their room. He says, any chance, and then closes the door. Perfect little way to end it. All right, well, overall, I would say a couple things. First of all, I would say that I think I did a little better in this episode because I kind of just kept it going. And I did a little worse because I spilled coffee on my fucking blanket. All right, the rating that I gave this film. So the film is very good, I've mentioned. But it's not like impactfully emotional. There's not like an impactful emotional resonance. So I guess you could say there's a lack of that. There's also kind of a lack of change for the characters. Now, yes, Mickey changes, but it's not a big change, and it's kind of the only change. He changes more than anyone else. I don't think anyone else really changes. So that was from a story side of it, that I guess from a character side of it, that could be a problem. I gave it an 8.5. I gave it an 8.5. It was good. It was good. I guess I don't think it's great because of what I just mentioned, but it was really good. 8.5. All right. I think that's it. Wrap it up. I'm also going to wrap it up because I don't know where my car is, so I got to go find that. And I don't know if this thing's going to just shut off on me at like any moment. So I think this is a good place to... So I was going to do a sci-fi question of the week every week, right? And then I realized I don't have any more questions. I just happened to think of that one. If I come up with one, I'll say it. But for the most part, I guess maybe I'll just do a quote from a sci-fi movie. I'll do sci-fi movie quotes. And they're not going to be that easy, but they might be. I'm not going to give anyone anything. Maybe early release of the episode. I don't know. If I'll post it on Twitter, and if you can name the movie, I'll give you early release. Maybe. So, if you really want it, you let me know. You know, I'm going to check, and right now nobody gives a shit, so I'm not going to see any comment, really. But if you get the movie right, then I'll give you an early release. Sci-fi quote of the week is this. Can you imagine how disappointing it would be to hear the same thing from your creator? Yeah. You name that movie. It's not that easy. You name that movie though. You can find that quote on my Twitter at the Ben Morganti. Also, what else? Well, let's do the TV trailers. Oh, there was a new Ozark trailer, but once again, season 3 it comes back in a couple weeks. So I finished Altered Carbon. It's good. It's not like a great show, but it's fun. Um, Not really any other trailers or big things like that. I don't think so. So that's it. Yep. You can follow the show at Screen Preach on Instagram, and you can follow me personally on Instagram at the Ben Morganti. Follow me on Twitter, the Ben Morganti. Check out my website for more work, written work, and for previews of episodes of this show at a benmorgantistory.com. Also, you can find the show's episodes on YouTube at Morganti Studios. And if you want to become a patron for this show, you can find the show and me, Ben Morganti, at patreon.com. So, once again, thank you for listening. Come back next week where I'll talk about 1917 for episode 3. As always, keep it real, keep watching movies, have a cinematic week.